So we begin our Tree of Life class for this evening, and we've been talking about the Sefira of Yesod. Yesod means foundation, coming from the word Sod, which means counsel. And so we've been talking about moving from Mahud into Yesod, and from Yesod it's the bridge. There's no other way to get to any of the rest of the Sefirot. There's no way to get to the rest of the attributes unless you go through Yesod. Yesod is the gateway. It is the door. And of course it stands for who is our foundation, who is the rock. Yeshua. Okay? Which he also says what? I am the door. He also says I am the gate. Okay? So Yesod, on those aspects, we've been talking about that Yesod takes us from small to great, small, from singularity to plurality, and how we are commanded, how Yeshua commands us to go out and make talmidim, to go out and make disciples, students, literally. How to go out and make students, ladies. And so, the singularity to plurality, from small to great, from simplicity to complexity. Okay, so if you go back and if you go back and listen to the YouTube, or not to the YouTube, if you go onto the public Facebook page and look at our live stream of our Sunday afternoon or Shabbat afternoon class, the Judaism 101 class, we spent quite a deal of time discussing this idea of God, because all of these things, remember, it is His attributes which we take to ourselves. So when we're talking about Machut, when we're talking about Yesod, when we're talking about Netzach, when we're talking about Chod, when we're talking about Chesed, when we're talking about Geburah, when we're talking about Tiferet, all of these are the attributes, these are the Sefirot of God. But He said, let us make man in our image and in our likeness. And so the Chazal say this is what He meant. When He said, let us make man in our image, it is not that God has eyes, or ears, or mouth, or nose, or hands, or feet, or a physical body of any form or fashion. This is not what He meant. Saying that it's not that we look like God. This is not His image. And in fact, we are instructed, commanded to not make any likeness or any image of God. This, by the way, is why we do not have, as much as we love Yeshua, we do not have any pictures of Him. This is why. Because we are commanded to not make any likeness. Why? Because the likeness, and we'll get into this in a few weeks, because this week we're starting on the Ten Commandments in the Shabbat morning class. The Shabbat morning teaching will begin Genesis chapter 20. And so how does Genesis chapter 20 start? Anochi Adonai Elohecha, I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim, out of the land of Egypt. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself a graven image. Okay? Why? Why should you not make a graven image? Because that becomes emblematic. Because basically the idea is that when you make an image of God, you're putting Him in a box. This is God. Do you remember what Aharon told the people of Israel, the children of Israel? What did Aaron tell the children of Israel when he made the golden calf? By the way, what is the first command that the children of Israel break? The first commandment. The first commandment that the children of Israel break is the first commandment. But so he makes the golden calf. And what does he tell the people? Hine Elohecha. Behold, look, here is your God. That's what he tells them. And what has he done? It's an ox. What has he done? He has, in effect, put God in a box. This is one of the number one rules. This is the number one rule of God to mankind. Do not put me in a box. By the way, this is what his name means. This is the significance of his name. What is his name? Yud-He Vav-He. Yud-He Vav-He. Coming from Hoveh, Hare Yiyeh. I was, I am. I was, I am. Come on, you can finish it. I was, I am, I will be. And so Yud-He Vav-He is a combination, is a combining of those three terms, which is why God is referred to, which means it's speaking to his eternality, that he always was, is, and always will be. Which Yeshua uses for himself in Revelation chapter 1. I am he who was, who is, and who is to come. This is the meaning of the Alpha and Omega in the Greek form. In Hebrew, what? The Aleph, Tav. The beginning, the ending, and all that's in the middle. Okay? And all that's in the middle, okay? Patrick and his class just finished up the alphabet, so some of y'all it's been a while. But all that's in the middle. What is all that's in the middle? All the letters, all the consonants. That's the Torah. This is what forms the Torah. So he's the beginning, he's the ending, and all that's in between, saying what? In the beginning was the Word was with God, the Word was God. Okay? So, what does God say to Moshe? Moshe asks him at the burning bush, at Horeb. Moshe asks him, whom shall I say has sent me? And he says what? That is the typical English translation, but literally in the Hebrew he says, Yiyeh asher yiyeh. Hoveh, hara, yiyeh. Yiyeh means what? I will be. So if he says, Yiyeh asher yiyeh, it's not I am, it is I will be. Asher, do you remember the word asher? We had it a few weeks ago in your grammar, in your vocabulary. Asher, meaning what? Which, literally which or who. So if he says Yiyeh, translate that for me. Yiyeh. Asher. Who? Yiyeh. I will be who I will be. So if you walk up to me and you said, tell me, what's your name? And I answer you with, I will be who I will be. What kind of a response is that? Because your next response to me would probably be, right? I'll be whoever I want to be. But basically, that's what God tells Moshe. I will be who I will be. I will be what, which, I will be who I will be. When people say that God would not take on human form, that God would not do this, God would not do that, that is very dangerous territory to tread on. Why is that that's exactly, this is, you see people, when we see the Malach Elohim, or the Malach Adonai, the angel of the Lord. And if you discuss this with Jews and some rabbis or whatever, and they'll tell you, we understand that to be Mashiach, we understand that to be Hashem, that this is God. And yet they'll say, oh, no, 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 that's not God. And yet if you go to Rashi, they say, well, actually, it was. You go to Nachmanides and they say, yeah, it was. But this resistance, why? There's only one reason why. Because they do not want to fathom, or they cannot fathom, God taking on human form. And the question is that I've debated some rabbis with this, and by debate, not on the internet, not on Facebook, I mean face to face, sitting across the table from them, and I've debated them concerning this. And their question is this: well, I would say, what's the big deal? What is the issue here? Well, why would God do this? And my response is, well, why wouldn't God do this? It's called ahala, it's called love. But when they say, when people say God wouldn't or God couldn't, that should make you sit up and take notice. Because this is exactly contradictory to what he tells Moshe at the burning bush. When he says, Iyeh, Asher, Iyeh, what is he saying? I will be who I will be. Who are you to say? So does God take on an angelic form? At times, yes. Does God take on human form? At times, yes. At times, yes. He takes on the form of a cloud. He takes on the form of water. He takes on the form of a whirlwind. He takes on the form of a rock. He takes on the form of this. He takes on many forms. This is why he said, don't make a graven image of me, because if you make an ox and you say, this represents me, then that's all people are going to think of. And I'm not just an ox. I'm not just what an ox represents. If you make me a bird, or you make me this, or you make me that, then people are stuck on that. And their imagination gets stuck on that form. So he says, you don't make an image of me. Because that limits me. And I am the limitless one. In Hebrew it's called Ein Sof. Everyone say Ein Sof. Means without limitation. So, Yesod goes from singularity to plurality. By the way, you will go back, if you go back and look at our Judaism 101 classes, and we're going through Derech Hashem by the Ramchal, Rabbi Yesod. Derech Hashem means the way of God. And we speak to this very thing, that God himself goes from singularity to plurality. This is why we used to have the term Elohim, and this is why we use the term Echad, Elohim being plurality, and Echad meaning not one per se, but a plural, singularity, a unit. And so, saying all of this to say, when I take on these attributes, these are not my attributes, these are God's attributes that are within me. And as I come to realize them, I apply them. And by applying them, I'm flipping the switch on. This is what is different about the lifestyle of the true followers of Mashiach, is that they go through the attributes and the switch gets flipped on. They flip the switch on. Therefore what? They're taking on the attributes of God. Therefore what? They are living. He says, when Yeshua says, follow me, what? Walk in my footsteps, meaning what? Live how I live. Do what I do, say what I say, be what I am. One of the things that we learn, that we're going to learn, is that we lose our self-identity in following Yeshua, in following God, and we become so immersed in God that we lose our self-identity. So that we do not, when they see us, you've heard the old saying, right? When people look at you, what do they see? When people look at you, do they see Jesus, right? This is the reality of that. How do they see Jesus in you? How do they see Yeshua in you? Except that what? You're living how He lived. You're talking how He talked. You're acting how He acted, which is what? Obedience to Torah. But how? With love and kindness, gentleness and forbearance. With humility. What life does a servant have of his or her own? A slave, a servant. The word eved. You've heard me say this many times. We have the word avodah. Avodah. And this word avodah is usually translated as worship. But if you go into a Hebrew dictionary or go to Google Translate, it's not this. Avodah literally means work. In Hebrew, if you go to Israel and you mention this, you'll hear this word in common everyday usage. We use this word solely for what? Almost wholly for what? Church. And yet this word avodah is not just for congregation, for church, for assembly, for synagogue. It's actually an everyday word. Why? Because this is what it literally means, work. It is the root to this word, eved. Everyone say eved. 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 Eved means slave, servant. Do you see this? Look, the root right here. Do you see it? Avodah. You see it? Avodah. Can everybody see it? Avodah. Watch. What is the three-letter root? Here, here, here. You see it? So if I do that, remember what we discussed in the grammar class. Always look for what? Always look for the three-letter root. Always look for the consonants. So look here, what do you have? Eved. This is Eved. Notice what you have. You have the three-letter root. The Vav here, we could make it a Cholem, right? Because what? It's acting not as a consonant, but as a vowel. So, what does an Eved do? An Eved does avodah. He does work. What we're going to find as we get further along into this, what we're going to find is this. Listen, what we're going to find is this. When we come into assembly, we call this what? But actually it is This is why it is called a service. We are in service. When a taxi is out of service, he turns off its light, which means what? If his light is off, what? He's not active, he's not working. If he's in service, what? He turns on his light, that means he is working. Same with a bus, right? If the bus has its light on, the sign in the front, if it has its light on, then what?
It's working.
He's working, and usually it has the city or the location where he's going, depending on, what bus line it is. If you're in a city, it'll usually have the street or whatever that he's going to next, the next stop. If it's Greyhound or VTC or something like that, one of those lines is what? It's going to have the city, San Antonio, Houston, Dallas, whatever. Everybody with me? But they also have a sign that they have on the front, and they will flip it to this. If the bus is not picking up passengers, then it will put a sign up that says out of service. So, when I come into the assembly, the idea is this. It is about work. What do I mean work? It's about my serving Him. What this does is it completely contradicts the common refrain, the common strain of thought that is in modern Christianity and such. Even it's in Judaism, it's in Messianicism, in all of it. It's this common idea. When you hear people say, "I'm not getting anything out of it," what I'm going to tell you is this: you've missed the point. The point is not that you're getting anything out of it. The point is that you are putting into it. The truth is this. How many of us ask God to bless the service? Do we ask God to bless the service? You pray? Bless the service. Bless us. Bless the church service today. Bless the worship. Bless this. Bless this. The truth is, the perspective is this. It's not about Him blessing us. He does that all week long. It's about us blessing Him. This is why in the synagogue service, when we're going through the brachot, when we're going through the prayers, there are very few requests to God. Rather than asking God to bless us, to bless us, to bless us, what do we continuously say in a synagogue service? Baruch atah Adonai. Blessed are you. We are blessing Him, blessing Him, blessing Him. Do you like angels? You like angel? Here's one right here. We have an angel right here. Your Hebrew name, Malach. Have you ever thought or said, I would like to be like an angel? Yeah? Yeah. Listen. In modern society today, people do not like liturgical services. It's not exciting. It's not all this people dancing around and jumping around. I mean, it can be, but they see it as being this very rote, very routine, very ritualistic kind of thing. By the way, which is forbidden by the rabbis. We are not permitted to make it rote or routine. Every single service, even though you're saying the same words that you said last week, every single service is to be from the heart. with all of your soul, all of your mind, all of your thought, all of your intensity intact, everything intact, every single time. So how many of you remember the four angels, the four malachim, which surround the throne, which the scripture says that they cease not to cry out day and night, Kadosh, 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 holy, holy, holy. Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh El Elyon. God Almighty. The whole earth is filled with His glory. Day and night, that's all they do. I want to ask you a question. Do you suppose those malachim, do you suppose those angels are bored with their responsibility and their job? No. Why? This is what they were intended to do. This is why they were created. They were created with this within them. Therefore, what? Saying those words brings satisfaction and pleasure to their heart. What I am saying is that when you get into this, when you take on this mentality, I'm not here for God to bless me. I'm here to bless God. It changes the whole perspective of the service, of the worship. You see, it's not whether or not the songs make you feel good. The truth of the matter is when we come into assembly, it's not about feelings. It's about whether or not this is my approach to Him. Am I serving Him? Because it's not about me, and you will hear as we go through the tree of life, as we particularly hear from Yesod and into Yesod and into Netzach, you will hear me say this over and over again. It's not about you, it's about Him. It's not about me, it's about Him. The more this becomes ingrained, and the further we go along with this, the more you're going to see this and the more you're going to understand this. Not only is it not about me, it's about Him. But it's not about me, it's about you. The truth of the matter is this. The Jewish perspective is that my neighbor is more important than myself. Does this sound familiar to you? It should. That we are to consider the other higher than ourselves. You've heard it over and over again in church. And yet it is a very Jewish concept. Put others first. So there you are in line. HEB. Right? Or you're coming down the aisle. And every checkout has 5 people in line, 5 baskets in line, which means what? They're sticking out in the aisles and some going across the aisle. And half of the checkouts are closed. That's always the case, right? HEB and Walmart. Half of them are closed. And the ones that are open, they've already got people going back into the aisles. And you see one, and it's open and there's only 3 people in line. And so there you go running, pushing your cart, crashing into little old ladies, cans flying in the air, displays come falling down because you're going to get in line because that one's only got 3 people. And here comes this person coming from the other direction and they've seen it too and now the race is on. Right? And you're playing bumper carts, trying to get in line. And you hurry up and you push your cart in. And you've just destroyed the tree of life. you've undone it. Because you made it about you. The same thing is true, you know, getting a parking spot. I have to be one that parks right at the door of the store because I don't want to walk that far. Let me share something with you. Unless you have actual health reasons of why you cannot walk from the parking lot to the store, you should leave that spot for somebody else. This is thinking about others. And it's something that we're not used to doing. So, we carry my mom around a lot of places. My mom's going to be 94 years old. So she has the handicap sign. Well, I've got the handicap sign in my car, it's legal. I can park wherever I want. I can park right here, right next to the door. My mom's not with me, but I've got that handicap sign and it makes me legal. No. I've destroyed the attribute of God that is within me when I do that. Because I'm only thinking of me. I'm not thinking about what if a person who really is in need of that spot comes up. You know, hurricane. And everybody's there getting water. And there's one case of water left. And there are two of you going after it. What do you do? Well, you see, what the Tree of Life teaches us is it's not about me, it's about God. And by serving God, I serve God by serving other people, by serving humanity. Therefore, it's about that person. And this is what it means when the scripture says, you shall love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, with all of your strength, and you shall love your neighbor as yourself. And Yeshua said what? These are the two most important commandments of all the Torah. These two. It's not about me. It's about Him. And by making it about you rather than me, I make it about Him. So we're not here to be served, we're here to serve. This is why, what did we say last week? About learning. Remember? We learn in order to do, and we learn in order to teach. It's not about me, it's about serving. And so we learn in order to do, and we learn in order to teach to do. Avodah, the common, and those of you who have been here for a while, you've heard me talk about this before. The common concept of worship is this. It's as though I walk into Cracker Barrel, and Emilio is my waiter. Uh-oh, trouble. You better not spill any coffee on me, dude. I know where you live. Anyway, so Emilio's my waiter. I walk into Cracker Barrel, and there's no guest there's no host to greet me. Charity was a hostess for a while at a restaurant, and my boss and I would go into the restaurant, and She was always there to greet me. And we ate there every day because I wanted to be greeted by a pretty face, right? Nothing like family to greet you. And so there's nobody there to greet you. You walk in, and there's Emilio sitting at the table. And next to Emilio is the cook, and there's the cashier, and they're all sitting there at the table. And you walk in, you're walking around, and you're looking for a place to sit. And Emilio says, excuse me, sir, excuse me, ma'am, can I have a cup of water? Now, what's the problem with this picture? Who's supposed to be bringing the water? He's supposed to be bringing the water. I'm supposed to be sitting at the table. He's got it backwards. He's got it reversed. By the way, no tip for you. He's got it reversed. You owe me the tip. He's got it reversed. And then he says to me, he says, by the way, also I need a menu. Right? I need a menu. And there he starts saying, okay, well, I would like fried pickles for my entree. I would like lamb chops and green beans and squash. And I'm getting hungry, I haven't eaten yet. And I'd like tea to drink. And he's telling me all of this. What's wrong with this picture? And then he eats all the food. Are you ready for this? He eats all the food, and then he gets up and he comes over to me and he says, sir, here's your bill. You can pay it at the cashier on your way. He gives me the bill. And I'm responsible for that. Is there something wrong with this picture? Come on, is there something wrong with this picture? Yes. It's very backwards, is it not? And yet this is exactly the way people approach this thing. They come in expecting not to serve, but to be served. They come in, they're supposed to be the waiters and the waitresses, they're supposed to be the servants, they're supposed to be the ones doing the honor, but they expect everything to be geared toward them. No. It's geared toward God. He's the customer, He's the recipient. They want everything geared to them. They want to be served. They want to be blessed. They want to be this. They want to be that. And then, when they walk out, they expect God to pay for it. Do you see what I'm saying? How backwards the attitude is of most people today. It's as though you're the butler in a mansion for a multimillionaire, but you're expecting the multimillionaire to go answer the door. Whose job is it to answer the door? It's your responsibility to answer the door. This is the concept of what we're talking about. So, unity in plurality, simplicity in complexity. And what? Potential versus what? Actuality. So, I give you this. Prayer is no excuse. Saying what? As long as it only remains a thought. It is only in its potential form. We hear nice, pithy sayings and quotes like, you know, ask God and it's as good as done, and those kinds of things. It is not sufficient simply to think a good thought or to think of doing good. For example, last week, so we have this hurricane that goes through north of Corpus, destroys several little towns, completely, just absolutely clobbers them. And then goes and sits on top of Houston and dumps in some places 50 inches of rain, and there are places tonight, a week later or a week later, that are still flooded. People can't get into their homes. In fact, I was on the news today, they were saying that today was the first day that much of Houston actually got back to work in over a week. And you think good thoughts. You think, you know, you think of doing good. Making donations. You wish you could go up there. You wish you had a boat. You could go help people. You had a four-wheel drive and you could go help people. You wish you had the means to take water up. You wish you could do this. You wish you could do that. And these are the most fatal words to a believer. I wish. Why? Because I wish is only potential. Why? Well, you may not have a boat. And you may not have a four-wheel drive truck. And you may not have the means to get up there. But I'll bet you just about every one of you here tonight has one of these. No? No? And there are lots of places that you can trust, where you can take this and you can drop it off and they will put it to its work, to its use. What you cannot do, you can pay for somebody else to do. Being the Talmid, being the student of a rabbi, is expensive. And the rabbis teach that one of the most honorable things that a person can do, besides being a Talmid, is being the guarantor of a Talmid. So this man, he wanted all of his life to go to rabbinic school, to go to school with a rabbi, to be part of a yeshiva. But life is happening and he's busy and all of these kinds of things, and he never could go and he never could go. He met this poor man, and the poor man had a son, and more than anything this young man wanted to be a rabbi. So the older man, who had also wanted to be a rabbi, he said, well, if I cannot be a rabbi, I can pay for him to be a rabbi in my stead. And so he went to the yeshiva and he paid for the young man to go to school, to be a rabbi. And the rabbis say that what this man did was just as important. What he did in paying for the Talmid to go to school was just as important as the Talmid going to school. Why? Because if he had not paid for the Talmid going to school, the Talmid could not go to school. Are you seeing what I'm saying? Saying what? You pay for someone to go up to Corpus or to go up to Houston to help people is just as important as the people going up. You're having a part of it. It's just as important. And you're not to feel less because you didn't get to actually go and see and drive and whatever, do all of these things. But if you're paying the way for someone to go, you're not able to go, but you're helping to pay the way for someone to go, then your work is just as important because they can't go without the gas. They can't. If there's no water for the people up there, what's the sense of going? You go buy a case of water. It's not that much. You go buy a case of water. You take it to the Salvation Army or take it to one of these groups that's taking it up. You're doing as much. You see what I'm saying? But as long as you're here, you're only in potential. And guess what? As long as you're in potential, hear me, as long as you're in potential, nothing's getting done. You're going to hear me say this over and over. Have you ever said this? Or heard it said? Have you ever said that? Yeah. Somebody needs to do something about that. Somebody should do something about that. Guess what? This is Yesod to Netzlach. You're the somebody. You've heard it said? See something, say something. Right? That's what the government tells us now. See something, say something. Judaism does not teach that. Judaism teaches this. See something, do something. Do something about it. It is not good enough for you to see something and say somebody needs to do something about that. Why? Because you're still in potential. And potential does what to help other people? Come on, so we can close. Potential does what to help other people? Nothing. As long as you are in potential, you're not doing anything. You have the potential to be active. You have the potential to do good. You have the potential to make a difference. But it still is only potential. This is why I'm telling you that good thoughts are not good enough. This is why I'm telling you that to simply think of doing good, to come up with good ideas, that's not the issue. And the reason why I say prayer is no excuse is because this is the refrain, this is the thing that we hear over and over and over again by people. What? Familiar words. Come on, familiar words. What? Say it with me, I'll pray about it. Say it with me, I'll pray about it. No. That's why I'm telling you, prayer is no excuse. Because as long as you're in that frame of mind, you're still here. Now, what do I mean about that? I mean this. I'm not telling you not to be careful. I'm not telling you to just go throwing money around or those kinds of things. Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is this. Too many people use this as an excuse. As an excuse not to get involved. As an excuse not to have to put money out. Not to have to put time out. Not to have to put activity, physical labor, these kinds. We use this word, I'll pray about it. And as long as I'm in this frame of mind, this is where I am. And potential is not actual. Actual is what gets things done. Potential, the truth of the matter is, potential is basically for nothing. Agreed. It has no value. Why? What's that? What's in potential? If you never do anything about it, what's in potential? Nothing. It's of no value. This is exactly what James asked Yaakov in James chapter 2. I asked you to read that chapter a few weeks back. James chapter 2. Where he says, if someone comes to you and says that they are hungry or that they are cold, And you simply say what? Be well, and go on your way. Basically saying what? I'll pray about it. Say it. I'll pray about it. Say it. I'll pray about it. James says, what have you done? What have you done? Nothing. That person still goes their way, cold and hungry. We're going to beat this until the horse is dead. You've heard it said, right? It's like beating a dead horse. What we're saying is this. Exactly. That's the passage of Scripture. Faith without your works. It's nothing. It's of no value. You say you have faith, but you have no works. I say I have faith by my works. You say you have faith, but you have no works. I will show you my faith by my works. Say what? If you have no works, you're only in potential form. Basically what? Nothing. You have nothing. Faith is active. It is not passive. Faith is not in the potential. It is in the actual. Saying what? Simply praying about it, that does not mean you have faith. This is a way that we spiritualize our inactivity. I'm being honest with you. This is the way we spiritualize our inactivity. By praying about things. So here we go, and we close. You do not need to pray about a mitzvah. You do not need to pray about a mitzvah. Why? What does mitzvah mean? Mitzvah. What does mitzvah mean? Mitzvot. What does mitzvah mean? Commandment. Everybody say mitzvah. Mitzvah. Commandment. Commandment. Saying, if God has already said, do this or don't do that, you don't need to pray about those things. He's already told you. You don't need to ask God if it is right for you to do a mitzvah. He already said it's right. Correct? Yep. There should be a hearty amen here. He already said it's right. Amen. Amen. Therefore what? If my dad says to me when I get home from school, my dad says to me, I suggest you do the dishes. Right? Okay. He goes to his room. I'm standing there for a few minutes. Maybe my brother comes up and says, yeah, maybe you should do the dishes. How would you think of me if I said, well, I think I need to go ask Dad if it's okay if I do the dishes? Now, what had Dad just told me? Come on, stay with me. What had Dad just told me? To do the dishes. Then do I need to go and ask my dad for permission to do the dishes that he just told me to do? Are you following my warped train of thought here? I don't need to ask him permission to do what he's already told me to do. Therefore what? This is an excuse. When I say I need to pray about something that God has already said to do, it's an excuse. Basically, I'm putting it off. Basically, I'm looking for a way out. Basically, I'm spiritualizing my inactivity, my life of living only in potentiality rather than in actuality. What am I saying? I'm saying that just thinking about doing good does absolutely nothing. Has God not already commanded us to watch out for the poor, to care for the widows and the orphans, to look out for the stranger in our midst. Has He not already commanded us all these things? Then do I need to ask God permission to do these things? No. They're already there. Do I need to ask God? Do I need to ask permission to take food to a needy family? Or even one that's not needy? To help out? To be of, remember what word we had up here? To be of service? To be of use? Do I need to ask God's permission for these things? No. Because He's already commanded us to do all of this. Do I need to pray to God before I make contact with the neighbor? I don't know the neighbor. Do I need to ask God's permission to make contact with that neighbor and see if I can be useful to that person? No, He's already commanded me to do all of these things. You see what I'm saying? This is what I'm saying. This is what I mean when I say prayer is no excuse. This is what I mean. People, because He said, "Oh, you don't pray about it." Exactly. That's exactly what James said in James chapter 2. You don't have to pray about that. He's already told you. That is, it's redundant. It's like me going, after Dad told me to do the dishes, then I go and ask permission to do the dishes. No. He's already told me. If I had done that to my father, how do you suppose my father would have reacted? I will tell you. I would have heard belts rustling in the closet. He would think I was being a smart aleck. He would have given me that look like, are you insane? You come in here and you ask that kind of a question. I'm being honest with you. This is Yesod. Yesod is this. Do it. Do it. And do it with a good heart. Do it with good thoughts. Do it because you are a servant of the living God and you're representing Him to the people around you. This is how you worship God. You worship God by serving Him. How do you serve God? By serving others. This is our mission in life. This is why we are here. And so that we say, Shalom, Joshua.